I want to just touch a point on Apple schools. So Apple stands for Accredited Programs for Learning Environments. Did I get it right?
I don't know.
I tried to study on that in case LaRonda ever asked me.
Right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell her I did that right. If you have, are there any schools that work with Griggs as an Apple school here? Okay. So you know, I hope, that when you are talking, when you're in your student account, in the SIS, you check the is Apple. And when you check is Apple, it does not count as your official enrollment count. And they're not included in any of your official transcript data because they belong to Griggs. This is the same thing, and now I'm out of order, but this is the same thing as partner campuses, where you have a main campus and you're a senior academy and you're working with a junior academy to deliver 11th and 12th grade transcripts and education. If you're in that situation, it's the main campus that counts your kids because they're transcripting them. So we're going to come back to that, but I just wanted to get that going. So if you have Apple students, you have to check in your student account, is Apple. And then you're going to get a warning in data rollup, and it will say that the student is enrolled in one or less classes, or two or whatever. And you can ignore that because you know that they're an Apple student, and that's why it's flagged. That's just a trigger to say, are you sure? Have you enrolled this kid? But if you know they're Apple, you know that they're not being counted as an official enrollment. Okay? Earlier, I referenced the partnership between Bass and Hoover. North Dallas Adventist Academy partners with 3 other schools in Texas, and North Dallas is the main campus, and then they partner with 3 other junior academies. The junior academies can't count those 11th and 12th grade kids because they don't transcript them. So it's all about legal data, okay? So just keep that in mind. And speaking of legalities, who's in the club? This is who's in the Educators Club, and it's everybody that makes your school work. If you are the janitor, if you are the bus driver, if you come in once a week and you volunteer to teach an art class, you need an educator ID and a role in your school. It's a legal thing. Back in the early days when we had the blue books or the red books or the whatever color books they were for elementary, and in the first page you had to list every person that had contact with the students for legal reasons. When we went digital, we don't have that tracker. This is really that affiliation. Who has had access at your school to kids and the workings of your school? This data syncs with Accreditrack. It's one of those time saver things. But it seriously has nothing to do with if they're getting paid. Yes?
What if it's your pastor?
Yeah, doesn't matter. Absolutely. If the pastor, he or she is involved in your school, if they teach a Bible class, if they come on a regular basis to volunteer, they're in there. So there's a support page for that. It's called FTE Instructions. And with the user guide, I think I had this somewhere. I might have skipped it, or you might see it again. But in the user guide section, we have a full user guide for Accreditrack that Jan Krumpacker, who's the author of Accreditrack software, maintains. We have information and help guides for AE Connect. There's a conference user guide, and there's also a school user guide. And the conference user guide, when you go here, we always talk about dashboard data rollup updates. And then it talks about the history of why we have dashboard data rollup. But then there's a schedule of tasks. This isn't carved in stone, it's just written on paper and it's in the internet, so you know it's true. They're guidelines, so, but please review them because they matter. They really matter. You can see October 5, we've put that in, that there's a hard freeze October 5. And I'm going to say this, I'll probably say it again. I cannot tell you how important it is, schools and conferences, that errors are cleaned up at the end of the quarter or before, actually the end of the 3rd week of school, but certainly by the end of 1st quarter. If you are a high school, it's got to be before the semester ends, and then check again after the semester, because that affects transcripts and report cards. Also check, especially at the end of the school, before your people leave campus and are off contract. Because guess what? Once people leave and they're not on contract, you can't make them come back and clean things up. And in the case of Sue, who manages Junior Academy transcripts, she can only edit data. She cannot add data. And we know that there are Lake Union transcripts that are incorrect because schools, to be honest with you, didn't do what they should have done, junior academies, to get the credits right, to get the classes right, to get the data pushed from the grade book into the transcript area. And then there are classes not on the data roll-up transcript. And we already talked about how that's a legal document. So I'll share with you a protocol that Mid-America uses because it's close to me because it was under my husband's thing. And his certification registrar, who was also the one who managed transcripts, kept sending me edits. It's like, no, this is not my job. Jerry, why is she giving me all these things to edit? This is not my job. She needs to make it be right. And he says, well, she has so much work. I said, I don't care. They've got to learn how to do it. And if I keep editing, what happens? When you keep fixing somebody's mistakes, what happens? You keep fixing their mistakes, and they never learn to do it right. So, poor Jerry. That's probably why he retired. No, I don't know. So what they do is they actually have the Junior Academy principals come in the fall, and they review everything. And Christy has access, and I think, Sue, you do too. Don't you have access to Jupyter? No. Something you might want to... I know, I'm not saying that, but what happens is she has oversight, and so she can go in and look to see and then tell them this is not right. Because it's crucial, it's legal. If you don't have your transcripts correct, by July 15 or by the time that teacher leaves the school, you are stuck because imports no longer affect that school year once July 15 happens because everything is frozen. And the school years are siloed. AE Connect is a different story, just saying. However, in FACS and Jupyter schools, you cannot affect change with a new import after July 15. Sue can go in and edit data, and conferences, there is a role, it's called Conference Data Manager Plus, that can go in and edit historical data, and it leaves footprints. So if you go in and you change a grade or you change a credit amount, it will say, I can go in and look and see who changed it and what it was before. We've put that in place because there were, sad to say, a principal, actually I think it was one time and that's all it took, that went in and changed grades at the SIS level so that somebody could get a basketball scholarship. Well, that's not okay. And so that's why there has to be oversight. I mean, you understand that. And so now we have things in place that if there's edit to data, within data rollup, we know who did it and what it should have been. I don't go in and edit things. It's not my role. I hand that off to the one who's managing the transcripts or the conference because I shouldn't be doing that. So these things are really important, especially the key deadlines of at the end of the third week of school opening reports because a lot of things weigh on that. In data rollup, you can print a report that's called School Directory. That is a cross between bringing in information from eAdventist and opening enrollment because it shows frozen enrollment data. So you can print Ruth can print a school directory and get all of the schools in her union by conference, the school type, the head teacher or the administrator, and the enrollment. And that's very helpful, you know. So there are implications if things aren't correct. And it's the biggie at the end of the school year because it's not fair to those who are overseeing to then have to have all of that to manage at the end of the school year when you guys are off campus or off contract and then she's trying to mess with, well, is this correct or whatnot? That's why I know that Mid-America started reviewing things during the school year. At the end of first semester, she tried to just to catch those things. But really, it's the school's responsibility. And so Sue's there to do oversight and to help.
First semester ends up.
Yeah.
That's when I start looking to see if you've got things
Yep.
correctly, but I can't see anything before.
Right, because in Jupiter, I can't speak for facts because I'm not a good facts person. But with Jupiter, you have to push the gradebook to the transcript, and that then populates the transcript. So those kinds of things matter. Number of credits, and now I'm out of order, Sue, but we're here. We'll just do it. Number of credits for classes. You can't make that up. It's tied to things. It's tied to the number of hours that your kids meet, right, in the classroom. Actual meeting and doing things. So don't make that up. Because then Sue's going to have to call you and have words, and maybe it can be fixed, maybe not.
And Martha, depending on the class, for example, there are certain classes that you cannot get beyond. You can only 0.25 credits.
Oh, that's a union thing.
Yeah, I don't even.
Right. So, junior academies have a lot. How many of you are junior academies? Who am I talking to? You have a lot on your plate. And sometimes we have junior academies. This is always interesting to me. And they're one teacher school. I can't imagine. But there's a lot that you have going on. But the academy registrar role is a serious thing. And it's legal because it's tied to transcripts especially, and transcripts means money in the eyes of the parent. Maybe not so much the student, but in the eyes of the parent. And they're far more legal than a report card is. Elementary is pretty, oh, you homeschooled, you don't have a report card, it's okay. Oh, you're 11, we'll put you in, you said you were in 5th grade, it's okay. That also is problematic, but not as serious as messing with a transcript, okay?
So this is off of your list here. What about students who come from other countries? How should a junior academy, senior academies have people who've been there for a while, but how should the junior academies process those?
As far as evaluating the transcript and whatnot?
That's kind of more registrars, but what would you advise in terms of how should that be?
My recommendation for Lake Union is that you have a senior academy registrar who's willing to mentor and be a point person. Because those kinds of things, that's not something that NAD is going to manage because it differs from union to union. And so that's actually, I was talking to Sue about this is actually my suggestion for FACS as well. If there are junior academies that use FACS, see if you can get somebody to offer to be that support person that they can talk to about how to make sure that the grades are going to the transcript and whatnot. Because I'm no good at facts.
Because we do the transcript, who does the transcript?
Right.
In terms of just making sure that the process is
Right.
accurate, so that the kids are not held, not put in a hole because the processing wasn't done.
Right, right. So Sue has the oversight, but as far as that advice, I would turn to a senior academy registrar. Yeah. So I'm going to talk to you about departments. We had a school that onboarded with AE Connect, and we recommended to them that they not on board because they were strong fax users. They were in elementary school, but the features that they wanted to have were academy features, such as GPA for all grade levels, and also transcripts, elementary school. So we recommended that they waited. Well, they onboarded anyway, and the conference supported that. And so we said, well, okay, well, we shouldn't have done that because it was not a pretty year because they kept insisting that this wasn't ready. And we said, but we told you we weren't going to have this. But they kept insisting on having transcripts for elementary. Transcripts are not an elementary report. Period. Pre-K to 8 get report cards. Period. if you have an 8th grader that's taking Algebra 1, and they're taking it with Griggs, who does the transcript? Griggs. Who puts the grades in? Yeah, because unless you are in the state of Minnesota, which requires 8th graders to graduate with Algebra 1, because I guess they think Minnesota people are smarter. I didn't say that. That's the only state where Algebra 1 can be on a report card and count as elementary credit. You putting Algebra 1 on a report card for 7th or 8th grade is not going to give high school credit. So if you are maybe at Ruth Murdoch and your kid wants to go up to take Algebra 1 at Andrews Academy, that grade does not enter into Ruth Murdoch at all. It's only at the senior academy. And so that's another thing. We have quite a number of schools who are in close campuses where the 8th graders go up to take Algebra 1. They get dual enrolled. In the student ID, they have to be enrolled in both schools because they're enrolled in that senior academy or that school that's accredited to teach Algebra 1 and give transcripts. And then the report cards and the transcript comes from that school. Are they counted as official enrollment in that school, like in Andrews Academy? Why not? Nope, that's not why. It's close. Kind of. But in order to be counted as full-time enrollment, you have to be taking more than 2 classes. Yeah. And so if you have a kid that comes up to Andrews Academy and takes 2 classes, they still shouldn't be counted as enrolled.
So they would count in both schools?
They only get counted at the elementary. They wouldn't be counted at yours. Yeah. Okay?
I want to piggyback, just certified teacher, not just like accredited.
Yes,
Certified
thank you.
teacher.
Well, and so that comes that it has to be approved by the conference, right? And one of the things that we put into place at the request of certification registrars, we put this into place to integrate into the directory. And if you look at the educator directory, it will tell what subjects that person teaches. It doesn't tell, it tells what classes. So it doesn't say modern language or world languages, sorry. It will say French. Because that way, Sue can then look through that directory, this is what Christy does, and looks to see what's being taught by those teachers and if they have the right endorsements and certification.
I don't, union, it's approved at the conference and at the union for that student to take Algebra 1.
Yep.
And the requirement is that it should be approved before they take
From a senior academy.
from a senior academy.
Yeah.
From a certified teacher.
Right, right. So that's something that the conference and the union need to make sure those things are in place. All right. And yeah, so that's Sue's list in a fashion. Okay.
Martha,
Yeah.
on entering people or staff into dashboard,
Yes.
you said everyone that comes in contact. However, I have a question. Substitute teachers that are in and out, we haven't been,
Long-term subs.
okay, thank you,
Long-term subs.
thank you.
Yep. And when you look at that support page, this is where we started getting off track from my little thing that's trying to keep me in line. This support page will tell you how to calculate. Like when we were up in Dakota Conference, I taught computer applications for Dakota Adventist Academy. I taught 1 class. So my FTE was 0.17. So the calculation is here. You can't be more than 1 FTE because, we know that we are, but you can't be. And you just get more stars in your crown. You don't get another paycheck. I was wondering, principals and vice principal of Aspire, do you get 2 paychecks? Just checking. All right, so this is all here in the support, and back where I was saying that there is a conference user guide, and it gives you all this information. There's also a school user guide, and you'll see that just like we had here with the schedule of tasks, we also have that for schools also. So that gives you kind of a timeline of when you need to be looking at things. All right, before I get myself further off track, let's see what's next. So user manager, we're just going to, I already started to show you a little bit of user manager. I'll go here to Sherry. So you can see at the conference level, this information at the top comes in from eAdventist because that's the organization information. Here, Sherry can click on the e-certifications and it gives a summary of all the educators in Michigan Conference. That comes in from e-certification. And she can also click here to get a CSV report file of all of this information. So she can sort to see who needs to be trained, who doesn't need to be trained. She can sort by all kinds of things. All right, so that's what happens here. And then since I'm in as Sherry, we're going to go to Grand Rapids. Who's here from Grand Rapids? It was a nice pick. I like your logo. So this is where the schools can put their logo. Now, what's a big deal about the logo? Well, it looks really nice when I come here to User Manager, but that file also goes on the school transcript and report cards. Okay? So when we look at the school report cards and the transcripts, you're branded as your own school. Up at the top and then down at the bottom, you have the Adventist Education logo, so you're branded as a system. Speaking of report cards, I know that's somewhere in my mix here, but I'll just tell you that we have our report cards and data roll-up and our transcripts designed by a designer. I know of a conference who spent, kid you not, $100,000 to Fax and RenWeb at the time for customized report cards and transcripts and other reports. We said, that's crazy. We can do that. And so that's why we've designed those report cards and also to keep that same look and feel as an Adventist system school. So you guys having your logo in there is a big deal. So that's what you see at a school level. At the school level, principals or academy registrars, vice principals, school data managers have access to User Manager. You cannot add educators. That's the conference's job. Okay? You can only look. But you see all your people, and you see the training, and you see if they're full-time or part-time, and their educator ID number. If you're an AE Connect person, you don't even need to come here, really, because all you need to do is go into AE Connect and staff and do sync staff, and it brings everybody in. So you don't have to come in here and look up their educator ID and then copy and paste it into AE Connect. It just syncs, okay? I will tell you, conferences, preferred name is only if that's different from the first name. And I'm also going to ask you, don't shout at people, so please don't use all caps. And yeah, we're asking, again, I'm just going to say it, please try and make sure that you have full legal name in there because that's really helpful. So that's really the User Manager. Union sees, well, she wouldn't be able to see. Union sees all of their conferences, all of their people. Conferences see all of their schools and all of their people. Schools, you only see your own people. So the permissions are pretty granular. You only see what you are supposed to be able to see. Unions, it's only a certain role that can see grades, and that's only if they are doing the role of transcripts, because it's not the union's business to see student grades and attendance, so they don't, okay? I'm the only one that has access to everything because I'm the administrator and I do the troubleshooting and the testing and all of that, but no one else has that access at our office. The rest of my team, all they see is what the union sees, which is just people. They can't see birth dates unless they are part of their jurisdiction. We take data very seriously, and we validate on a birth date because we don't collect Social Security numbers. So that's why it's important to have that full legal name with any previous names and an accurate birth date. All right, so that's User Manager, and that was that exciting stuff. So I talked about that. Info at the top comes in from eAdventist. We talked about the logo, the e-certification summary, and also the CSV export of personnel. So who are you? And these are the steps to add a logo to your school on Dashboard. It's also in the user support guide under schools. And so I have several demo schools I play around with. So I've hijacked the Adventist Education logo. I don't recommend it. Please have your own logo. So I did a little search. And so there are 19 Lake Union organizations that have a logo, and there are 58 that don't. So it would be nice if all of you had the logo. Conferences and unions, if you want your logo, apparently I'm your best friend for that. So I'm happy to help you with that. But schools, you should be able to upload your own logo. Okay? All right, we talked again about users, and I'm going to come at it in a different way. If they're part-time, do you still add them? Yes. If they're locally funded, do you still add them? Yes, because money doesn't have anything to do with it. If they're a volunteer, yes. Roles and access, when you get this slide, here's the support page for it. And it says, I think I made this to stand out pretty well. A user should only be assigned one role. Roles are about permissions, not job titles. And this gives the different options. And then this gives you the permissions so that you can take a look at that and see what your person needs in order to see. By the way, teachers can go into Data Rollup. They only see their own kids. And if you are a teacher but you're not the homeroom teacher, you don't see report cards because it's not your business. Okay, it only belongs to the homeroom teacher that sees everything. And we talked about when to add and end roles because it talks about access. So we did a bit of talking about Student ID Manager. I showed you the importance of adding the full legal name when you're looking for students. Make sure that you search first. In the beginning of Data Rollup and moving the student IDs over, we had a lot of drama. We had one-room teacher schools who all their kids had the same birth date. It's like you really can't do that. So don't make anything up. Just don't make anything up. Don't make the ID number up. Don't make don't make anything up. Conferences, I don't know if you knew this, but if you go into oops, that's not what I wanted to do. If you go into the user manager and the student ID manager, and this is helpful, I think, for maybe art clinic or music clinic, you can generate, you can generate a CSV of all of your students from Student ID Manager. Wow, Sherry, you're Michigan Conference on steroids.
Well, yeah, can you tell me why I have?
I think you have 3 different roles. So we talked about the support guide. There are user guides, again, for credit track, the conference level, the school level. There are ALC courses for the conference administrator and school registrar that dig deeper into Data Rollup. And there's one for teachers to help them get acclimated with the dashboard. We have digital resources for Encounter, for McGraw-Hill Social Studies, Kendall Hunt. That's often a big one for schools that want the digital version of the Kendall Hunt of By Design Science and Pathways, so that information is there. And then there's information on mental health and also ALC. There's quite a bit of resources there for standards-based learning as well. So, now for the real reason of why I came. All of this ties together. You really can't start talking about one thing without backing up and talking about other things because things are so integrated. But I hope by the end of today, you won't be like the little kid here and saying, what on earth is this all about? So, Data Rollup. I've covered Dashboard pretty well. The User Manager, right? Student ID Manager. We talked about all the resources to Encounter, to ALC, to the Educator's Corner. But Data Rollup is a little different because that's at the heart of our reporting. So we have a giant database, and I showed you those dependencies, interdependencies of where the data comes from and where it goes out to. So Data Rollup, it's a reporting tool where reports are generated from imported data or also data from the data bridge, the manual. So data usage is voted by union directors. We hold to that. We have, for instance, we recently took to the directors, should we start reporting, having the ability to report ethnicity and for students? And the director said no. We have a couple unions that wanted that because they felt that it would help, especially with map testing. They wanted to be able to expand upon that and make some good data-informed decisions. But the director said no, so it goes nowhere. So you need to know that because there is a process. Like I said, it's not me waking up in the middle of the night and saying, oh, no, that would be a cool data point. I'm going to add that. It's not how it works, okay? Union directors. So if you ever have something that you think would be a good idea to be changed, for example, this last year we were requested to add the ability to add the reading level on the elementary report card under the language arts. It was a request by Southern Union to add the ability to have a text field so that the teacher could go in there and put the reading level. And we thought that was a good option, and so that was voted. And so if you wanted to, as a union, have that, then that ability is in place. But again, it goes through your union. So we have the ability to do the overall, but then it goes granular down to the union. And again, access levels are based on assigned roles. We covered that. So let's talk a minute about conferences. So the conferences have some other tools in their data roll-up page that, that schools don't have. So they have access to something called My Schools, and that gives them a lovely list of all of their schools and all of their errors. And I know that they strive to have 0, but remember, it doesn't count those baptisms. They also have something that's called conference data. Conference data is where they go in and they upload map data. So I gather you haven't done your map testing yet, right? When the fall map testing is complete, the conference level then goes into map and pulls out a zipped file and uploads that to the data roll-up, to the conference data area. And then that also is where things get kind of tricky because then there might be so many errors because the full legal name needs to match between Student ID Manager and the Student Information System. And if those two don't match, then the data doesn't come into our map report because we don't mess with student data. And we're not going to put student data on the wrong kid. And so we're really picky. All right, so birth dates have to be identical. Full legal name needs to be identical. And student ID numbers. So those are the 3 fields it validates on. There's also a link to subjects, but that's also on the school side, and staff titles. So we're going to take a look. We're going to go into Sherry because we can. And we're going to go to data rollup.
I think you should use your own for this.
I can't.
Well, then
Because then it's everybody. It takes longer.
we haven't had time to go through and clean our air. I just want to say that I'm not.
It's new, but this is good, fertile opportunity to look at some errors.
I'll be humble.
Sherry is always really good at her data, which is why I feel comfortable with pretending to be her, because her data is always good.
Today you might go home and say, maybe.
Okay, we'll start on the easy one. We'll go to conference data first. Okay, so conference data, because you're in the wrong role. Let me go to the right role. Okay, so in the conference role area, conference data, the conference can click here and get an enrollment file, and that's very helpful for rostering things. We used to say, oh yeah, use that for map, but then we did a map roster that should work. There's a funny story. My role in social media in our office is I repost school postings. So if you see your school's post on Adventist Education, unless you've done hashtag Adventist Education, it's because I've reposted your post. I love doing that. I do that several times a day, especially if I'm at a doctor's appointment with my mom. I just sit there and repost. But I read a post from one of the superintendents, not in Lake Union. And he is just going ballistic about how much time it took him to do a map roster. And I made a comment. I hardly ever comment because I just don't, but I could not help myself. And I just said something like, map roster in data rollup, question mark. And he texted me and he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Didn't you look? I mean, we deployed this. It's a click of a button. There's your roster." He was so mad because he had spent all that time. Anyway, the map roster is not perfect, but, and I don't know how many of you use it. Do you use it?
I do use it. Oh, yeah,
It's not perfect. No, but is it better?
Then the very first time,
Yeah.
where we manually entered every student, yes.
Oh, good. Okay, let's stop there. However, please send me things that need to be better so that we can do that.
First of all,
Wait, you have to send it.
now that, the roster you upload, you can't use. It comes into numbers and you have to transfer it over.
Oh, because you're a Mac user.
And then you had to, you got to make sure it's the right CVS, and then there's
Or CSV.
CSV, whatever, and then you've got all your students who aren't, who don't have.
Yeah.
this
So I
and
need to
that,
know
and
your
then
pain.
click 'em all, I'm not-
I want to know your pain. I need to know your pain.
I'll share.
So please send me an email and we'll work on that. Because we want this to work for you. And if we don't know,
Right.
because I don't roster map people, right? Okay. So that's
I want to say PC, I don't have that trouble.
if you have your default spreadsheet set to numbers, then that will happen. But you can change your default. Yeah. In your settings. Yeah. So here, when you go, this is where Sherry or your conferences can download a CSV of just one grade level or all of your grades so that you can do that. We don't recommend you doing that until after school year has settled out, but that's an option for you. And then there's this map portal. So when we go to last year, you can see that it's actually pretty good, Sherry, compared to what I've seen in others. But I need to tell you about this. If you are incorrect in your map data for your conference, that makes your union map data incorrect and also makes the division map data incorrect. So it levels up, okay? So when we look here at the issues, and we have some fixes, this is kind of what happens. It's validating on student ID. And sometimes this is, if you preface it with, like if it's a homeschool student, and you preface it with a letter, it's not going to import in and you won't get any errors.
Oh, you have to put the letter at the beginning?
You put the letter at the beginning.
Oh, we've been putting it at the end.
Yeah, you put it at the beginning because then the software knows not to read it. Okay? So those kinds of things are in the support guide under import issues. So you can take a look there. But the other thing that we're adding is this, to me, is not helpful and is only frustrating. And I've told our developer that. It's like you need to affiliate it with the school that the ID is coming from. Give us something. So that is on the list. But you can see that we're pretty picky about it. So here it expected to see Angel Junior, but it got Angel, so it didn't let the data in the door. Okay? Because it needs to be exact. So those are the whys, okay? It shows you what you should have seen, and it shows you what it got. So what you should have seen comes in from ID Manager, and what you received comes in from the Student Information System, okay? All right. So other things here, the conference can look at, this is where the conference can see, this is why I needed to show at a conference level because mine takes forever to load this page. So the conference has the ability to freeze and unfreeze a school's opening report. And the reason for that is because they're there to support, to have oversight and to support the schools. So Sherry can take a look, the conferences can take a look and see how many of the schools have frozen. And we have one, Wilson Junior Academy, who's frozen. So I will add, are you fax? Are they fax?
No, they're Jupyter.
Okay, good. That didn't sound right. Let me just go here for a minute and tell you why I said that. So up here to data roll-up updates, we made some updates, and it has to do with this. We are now collecting data as a personnel overview. And this is going to sound really weird to you because it does not at all reflect how many educators we have as actual bodies. But we needed to know how many SDA teachers we have pre-K-8 and how many we have 9 to 12. And we needed to know how many we had of other faiths, pre-K-8 and 9 to 12. So this is if you teach. And then we needed to know the same for non-teaching personnel, SDA staff or administrator, or other faith staff or administrator. What happens if you are a principal who also teaches? Where do you go? You go to both. So that's saying that there's one head count. Well, you could actually be in 3 places, right? Or 4 places. Because you could be pre-K-8 teacher as a 1, pre-K 9 to 12 teacher as a 1, SDA administrator as a 1, oh, yeah, for pre-K-8, and then for also 9 to 12. So you can be 4 people, because that's really what you are when you are doing that.
But you're less than one.
But you can't be more than 1. You're 4, but you're really not.
So you put it as 0.25?
Yes. They're all 1. It's not. It's a body. It's a head. This body is doing this job, but then this body is also doing this job. So, FACS put this in, and I'm going to show you how FACS did it. So I go to FACS, and then I'm going to go to Setup, and this one that says Missing Non-Teachers Pre-K 8, 9, 12, and More, because it was too long. So this is where you go in FACS. How many of you are FACS users? You need to do this before you freeze your opening report. Okay? These and if you are pre-K-8 school and you have no 9 to 12, you have to put a 0, I believe, in the 9 to 12 field. I am very sorry. That's how FACS deployed it. If you are a Jupiter school, you don't have to worry about this at all. Because what Jupiter did, and actually if you're an AE Connect school, you don't have to worry about it at all either. It's only if you're a FACS school. We're taking it from the FTE, and so because you're counted as 0.17, teacher 0.83, whatever, then that's in the output, so you don't have to worry about it. So conferences, this is what you need to watch out for. If these are FACS using schools and they've frozen their opening report, you need to make sure that they have completed those fields in FACS. All right? So the conference can look here and they can view their opening report. Ginny moved there. I forgot that. So hopefully, I'm sure Ginny has looked it over and made sure that it's accurate because she's good that way. But this is where you need to just make sure. This is the Apple, and we're going to change that to say Griggs Apple so it's very clear. But if you had any Griggs students, they should show up there. And partner campuses, that's what the PC means. So I'll show you an opening report in the opening report assistant soon. But all of this is what should be checked by the administrator and then also reviewed by the conference. And so if it's incorrect, then the conference can unfreeze and say you need to go back and fix this. Okay? Closing reports the same way. So on Sherry's at the top here, when she looks at my schools, she can see that there's one school that has frozen their opening report. And I'm glad that there are none that have frozen their closing report. And there are 35 active schools, so 35 still need to do their homework. Okay? If you're at the end of the second week of school, you can technically still freeze your report. It's just we give you to the end of the third week. And the reason for that is because we have schools that haven't even started yet. A lot of schools don't start until the day after Labor Day, and in Canada they start later. And so the opening report statistics is a snapshot of everybody by the end of the third week of school. And so we want everyone to be on the same playing field. So that's why it's not just October 5. We want everyone to be at the same point. And this is where Sherry likes to go and look. And so you can see the error counts here, and Battle Creek's not rolling up.
Yep. Been struggling with that
Your fax? Have you contacted fax?
twice last year, and now it's doing it again, so I will be in contact with them.
Do you do the SDA support one? Okay.
Yeah, they're good, they've been good,
Yeah.
but it continues to be an issue.
Okay. Yeah, so fax. We ask fax to deploy those updated fields across all of our fax schools. It doesn't always happen. Like I heard from a conference last night that it hadn't been pushed out in their schools. So please watch. Things happen, guys. Fax is a huge thing, and this is not at all a criticism of them. It's just a matter that things happen, especially in development. It's sometimes things happen and something gets pushed to the wrong school. And that's just the nature of things. People moving too fast. I need to, those of you using AE Connect, I want you to understand this is both a blessing, but it can also be a curse. You have to be careful, and we have warnings put in place, but all of our students and parents in AE Connect are in one database. There are some conferences that have all of their fax school in one database because it was cheaper for them and it's easier to do record keeping and such. So with AE Connect, you go in to choose your parents for your students. You need to make sure that they're the right parents because all the parents are connected in one database. And one of the reasons for that is so that you can have a parent who has kids in one school here and another school there, but one parent portal. Okay? So we have a validation in place. If you choose a parent and then you go to turn on their parent portal, it's going to come up and say, warning, have you verified this parent? Because it's a big deal. So the same thing with fax and with Jupyter, with any content that you're adding, that you're entering, that's personal information, birth date, full legal name, you have to be careful. What happened to a whole conference of fax schools is the wrong enrollment package got pushed out to their schools. And so that caused all kinds of issues. So you just have to be vigilant and pay attention because don't assume anything, all right? So here were these errors. So you're going to work on Battle Creek, and if you need, if you want to copy me on the email, feel free to do that because I ask schools to do that all the time, and your conference.
She did have trouble last year, she was on it.
Yeah, because I always keep you guys in the loop. Okay, so when we look at errors, the caution is what gives you the access to the error. I always open it up in a new page because I don't like to lose my main page. And so missing enrollment information, this is because they have to be in the student ID manager. And so there are things, this tells you up here, the most important errors, student IDs, missing student IDs, incorrect or educator ID, or mismatched full legal name. So you want to take care of those first. Let me look at who's here? Oh, okay. No, you don't have any errors. Don't want to look at you. Who's here that has errors?
Aspire Academy, I saw 307.
Way to go.
I don't know what's going on.
Let's look. I love it. Okay. Oh, these are boring. Okay. These SIS unique key must be unique. Those are annoying errors that go away on their own.
You might not even have students.
So what happened way at the beginning, it took so long to process the imports. I don't think any of you were even in data rollup when it took that long. I mean, years. No, not really, but a long time. And so the developers at the time, and it was a different development team, they put into place a process so that when your import comes in, it checks. The software, the application, the code checks to see, and it only checks the data that has been changed. So it doesn't process the whole thing. It just processes what's new, what's different. And so sometimes if an import has been processed too soon together, it's going to kick out these SIS unique key must be unique. And usually you push another import and they go away. That shouldn't be happening with AE Connect. All right, educator must have a current role for this school and user manager, so that's a matter that you yourself need to assign the right role. So Chris Morris.
So he's no longer with the school.
Well, so end his role. Or take him out, no, actually, you need to take him out of Aspire.
We can do that.
Yeah,
Figure that out.
yeah. Mismatched full legal name. This tells you what's different. Sometimes it's pretty tricky to look at. The student,
Oh, I think the
oh,
import, I didn't
yeah.
the middle name.
The import, yeah, the middle name is missing. Sometimes it's a space because in coding, a space is a character. So you have to be careful. Sometimes it's so close and you look at it and then it's a different letter. So yeah, so those should be easy. This way here, it's because there was extra letters. That's why it's red. So student ID manager doesn't have the full middle name. But
I don't think he's a current student. Oh, no, he is, sorry.
yeah. And the same with this. This is just very interesting. This is a hybrid of the first name. Anyway, so you can see those are easy. Those are easy to fix. Missing date of birth, mismatched date of birth. So again, the import says one thing, and the import said nothing. The import says different. Here it's off a day. Here it's off. Oh, wow, this kid is really smart because they were just born in July 17, 2024. Those are easy. This one here, associated teacher, it's usually because setup hasn't been completed. Teachers haven't been assigned. Yeah. And missing cumulative GPA is something that you can ignore if they are ninth graders because they don't have any other GPA to come to figure as cumulative. Yeah, so you just ignore it, and then when they get like at the end of second semester, it should be disappeared. So those are easy. So we'll go back and we'll look at Andrews. No, I'm just kidding. Most of the errors that we are seeing are things like that. So thank you for the example. Or it's because skill codes are wrong. They've tried to put 1, 2, 3, 4 in social development work ethic. Or they've put in wrong grade codes. So again, those things aren't a thing in AE Connect because you can't get that data in incorrectly. I'll also tell you about AE Connect. There's an awful lot of auto-population in play so that with attendance, you can just click at the top and mark all your kids present and then go back and change the one that's tardy or whatnot. We have auto-population in with the gradebook also. If you give participation of 10 points, you can go in and click at the top to auto-populate, and you've entered grades for all of your kids in that assignment. So we've tried to do as much as we can to save the educator time and not take away from quality, okay? So it's not so automated that it's going to mess up. All right, so that's, yep.
Can you explain, I know that they're all important, but critical, passive, and warnings?
Yeah, so right now, if you look at your warnings and you haven't filled in those fields for the personnel overview, they come up as warnings. Those are going to be kicked to errors because they are required. So a warning is the cumulative GPA. It's not going to affect any report accuracy. It's just something to say, hey, if this is a kid that's been in the school longer than a semester, you want to check and make sure that things are happening. So it's just a flag, like, better check. Let's go here to make sure you guys know how to use this. So I'll go to, where was I just? No, not that one. Another one. The other one. The Junior Academy? Was I Grand Rapids? No, you had, Greater Lansing. Yeah, okay, we'll go there. So I don't know if you know about the record browser. I use the record browser all the time. And the record browser browses the record. That's what it does. It takes a look at the data in the import, because the import is a CSV file, or a CVS, if you want to go there. But it's a CSV file. Sorry. And that's hard to look at, especially if you're a large school. The headers don't stick because there are multiple sections. And so I go and I look at the record browser. And the way you get to that is you just click on your school. Anywhere your school is hyperlinked, you click on it, it takes you to the record browser. So here, I can look at the school record. This tells me all the information that came in from Jupyter, okay? All of this. It gives you those fields that Jupyter has nicely gathered that information that poor fax people have to enter manually, sorry. And then it gives you all the students. Now, when Sue at a junior academy is having to edit, or at the conference level, if there was a mistake in the report card or something, then Sherry would do this, but this is where they would go and edit the data. But you can only edit the data for the previous year, because otherwise you could change it in the import, right? So this, when I click on a student, then I can see all the student record, the student information, and I'm going to make this really small so that you can't really see it. But this gives you all the information that comes in on the student record from the student information system. And so one of the things that I do, if there's a problem with you can't read that, right? Good. If there's a problem with a grade, I go to the record browser to make sure that the kid is enrolled in the class, because sometimes that's the thing, the enrollment hasn't happened yet. And so that's why you'll see here these yellow, it's because they're not enrolled in those quarters. I can see the transcript. That's really tiny. I can see the report card class. I can see the transcript record. And then also skills, if they had skills, transcript classes, attendance. And then this links directly to all of their reports. Their report card, their transcript, their class record of attendance, their CUME record, and all of that. Yes. So the record browser, it's very, very helpful. When I'm back at the school level, if I go to the very top, and then I can make it big. Hurry, hurry. This is also where I can download my import file and look at that. And I have to do that sometimes to look, especially when a school says, the grade is there. And it's like, well, is it importing in? The grade is there. And so I will download the import, and then I'll highlight, the grade is not there. But this is just a really fast way to check for that. Sometimes a student will leave, and there's a window. So if a student leaves in the middle of a quarter, say in week 3, they shouldn't have a grade on their report card, right? Because they haven't finished the whole quarter. So there's a window. You have to be enrolled. I think it's up to at least, it doesn't go earlier than 2 weeks from the end of the quarter. So there are protocols for safety, for credits and whatnot. But anyway, this should be helpful for you. Sometimes we have administrators who leave and they go to another school, and then, or they leave education altogether, and they're still getting the notification of the imports, and they get really upset. I'm still getting the email about errors. Please stop it. It's like, this is how you do that. But conferences, you can go in and do it right there from settings. So you can do that, and also the school can do it in data rollup. So there's that information, and that all has nothing to do with Partner Campus. I started talking about schools. All right, so Partner Campuses, I'm going to show you this here. In the user guide, if I search partner, it will bring up Partner Campus. And so this tells you what a Partner Campus is. So it says schools connected for the purpose of offering or taking accredited high school classes are considered partner campuses. We're kind of moving to extension campuses. I think that is more descriptive of what it is. But the main partner campus offers the accredited classes. Students are counted in that official enrollment. The partner campus students take the accredited classes. They are not counted in official enrollment. And students must be enrolled in both schools and Student ID Manager because that's the only way to get those connections. So this is in effect for students taking the complete grade level from the partner school. So it's not that your kids are taking Algebra 1 at the high school. That does not make you a partner campus. It's only if you are a junior academy and you're getting your 11th and 12th grade, your 11th and 12th grade students walk in your doors, but they're getting that 11th and 12th grade education from a senior academy. So what that means is all of their enrollment, all of their classes, their attendance is done in the senior academy student information system. So we have a guide for that. So the opening report assistant, what did I do? There you go. The opening report assistant has help for that. So if you look here under Partner Campus, it will give you where to enter that information. So the main campus, the Senior Academy, what you have to do is, and this just shows you the student, but in the, you need to add that. In the main, well, I'll just show you. Let's go to Jupiter. And I'll go to my school so I can mess mine up. And in Jupiter, in the school account, school, it's right here, Partner Campus 4. And that's where you put the org ID for the extension campus. So any Jupiter schools here, you work with a senior academy. Oh, but you're Jupiter school. I didn't finish my sentence. Any Jupiter schools that work with a senior academy, junior academy to senior academy? No. All right, do we have that relationship then with FACS schools?
We have a relationship with a Jupiter school over FACS.
I think it still works. You're FACS. And you work with, who are you with?
AAA.
Oh, yeah. So you're the pre-K-8. You're the junior academy? Yeah, because they're the senior academy. Right, and they're Jupiter. Yeah, so that's okay. We'll do this. In here, for your students, all your students who are getting their education from AAA, you check off on their student record, Partner Campus Program School ID, and you put their org ID, right? Oh, because you're not Jupiter. Wait, I can do this. Let's go back. She says, no, what are you talking about? We'll go to FACS. Here we go. Let me get the right school. You can see how this can be confusing. Okay, this is what it looks like. Is that better? Yeah? Okay, so you go to the kids user defined. And then down at the bottom, way down at the bottom, that's where you add the org ID for AAA. So for every one of your students that is getting 11th and 12th from AAA, you have to put their org ID there. And then what they do is in their Jupiter school build that I tried to convince you was yours, they put your org ID. That gets the relationship. So then when you're at the top of your opening report, this shows you here, is Partner Campus under? And so yours should say, because you've both done things right, yours should say, is Partner Campus under Atlanta Adventist Academy? That's also where your constituent organizations show up, okay? So for here, anywhere you see a blue circle, that's going to open up a help screen for you, whether you are FACS, Jupiter, or AE Connect. Okay, so that's the opening report assistant. We also have a closing report assistant. And that's just to help you. Also in place here in in Data Rollup is when you are in your reports. Boy, you thought I was going fast before. Wait till I start going now. when we look at our reports, you'll also have troubleshooting guides for the opening report, for the closing report, and for the teacher assistant. No, teacher report, teacher opening report. So take a look at those, because here's school opening, and that might take a little bit to load. And then if I go to Adelphian, that's where you'll see the red button that says troubleshooting. And so that's really helpful, because you can go in there, and anywhere you see a question mark, it will tell you what data is coming in and where it came from. So you can see if there are students that shouldn't be counted or were counted that maybe shouldn't. You can see why your numbers are off. All right? So troubleshooting. And that's also schools where you freeze, or the conference can freeze that way too. Back in the help guide. Yeah. Oh, I guess you need to stretch. How long? Yeah, but 3 minutes? Okay, hurry up.